time out of your busy schedules for this meeting. We want to try to stay on course, because I know it's the middle of the workday, and we want to make sure that anybody who has work obligations can get right back to it. So we want to try to get in and out of here within an hour. The main topic of today's conversation, our design team wants to discuss the cost estimate for the project with us today. And then we can open it up to member discussion and member questions about the project. Just a couple of announcements. April's going to be a really busy month for us as we bring the project to town meeting. We plan to schedule hearings before every single board and committee from town meeting, Ways and Means, capital budget, ZBRC, land use, and if any of you are willing to join us for that, we'd be more than happy to have you. So we'll keep you posted on what those dates are. We also plan to have a couple of public information sessions for the general public that we'll schedule, and we'll try to make them at a couple of different times so people can get down there. And when we're at the planning board meeting, we promised to contact the abutters of the project. So we'll have schedule a separate meeting just with the abutters. I think it's 300 feet radius of the project, and we'll try to get those people in the area closest to in for a meeting, just to let them know what we have going on for the project. So all the members will keep you informed of what those dates are, and we'd be happy for anybody that just wants to show up and participate in those meetings with us. With that, I guess I'll turn it over to Kevin. Kevin, you got the cost estimate you want to walk us through?
Yep. I think everybody's got try talking to this thing right. I think everybody's got the handout, and I've actually popped it up on the screen on the cost estimate, or actually we refer to it now as what you're looking at now is the opinion of probable costs. It's the total breakdown of the entire project, not only the construction of the project, of the building, but all of the things that would, if you took the expression we usually use is, took the building, flipped it upside down, shook it, all the stuff that might fall out, that's the stuff that's under some of the equipment costs. And then, of course, there's your cost for your design professionals and your OPM, some testing for your materials, all those other legal costs and those types of expenses. So when we put out a opinion of probable cost, it is a full all-in number. This is what at the end of the day, at the end of the project, this is what we anticipate the cost of the project to be. We're not looking, we've built in some contingencies along the way at each one of these subheadings. We have contingencies because we're at such an early stage with it being more or less a conceptual design. Not every I has been dotted and every T has been crossed. So our cost estimators, although they've worked with us I've worked with this cost estimator for over 10 years. She knows the way we do our buildings, but there's always something unique to every project. So to make sure that we're covered, these numbers all have contingencies at different points. So might as well start off at the top for the construction, the nuts and bolts. We've got a cost of approximately $34 million at $33,997. That includes the demo of the existing building, building the new building at approximately 36,400 square feet. It includes the auxiliary building, which is 2,100 square feet, which is a insulated steel frame building. It's a big manufacturer out there is Butler. We do that because the cost of putting some of the things like speed trailers, motorcycles, big found property, those types of things, to put those in a building that's built the same quality as the actual headquarters itself doesn't make sense. It needs to only be kind of kept at like 55 or 58 degrees, just enough so it doesn't freeze. We can get that price at probably it's about 2/3 of the cost of what the regular building construction cost is going to be. That's included in this price. And all of the costs associated with developing the site, from retaining walls to subsurface retention or catch basins, all the utility connections to the rest of the utility companies, soup to nuts, that's what we would anticipate opening bids at on bid day. I should also note that in there we've also put an escalation factor in there to being bid on or about next April or so, April, May, depending on If it passes in May, we start in June, and then we get about 9 to 10 months to get out to bid, to get the drawings completed, out to bid for another month and a half or two. So we've escalated to see what we are anticipating seeing when we open the envelopes, or actually, I'm dating myself. Nothing now is on paper, it's all electronically bid. So when we get the email from the web hosting site that the bids are in, that's the number that we would expect to see is if not the low number, someplace between 2 and 3. We don't actually like to do our cost estimates based on the low bidder, because if anybody, most of you are aware, low bidder means you've left the most on the table, you forgot something, forgot the most. So we try and hit the middle of the pack. We're anticipating a project this size will probably pre-qualify 10 general contractors, and we'll hope to get 5 proposals, 5 bids. We look to be right in the middle. And that's what our cost estimator has done. A little bit about how the cost estimate has come up. We've sent off the set of floor plans, the exterior renderings, the site plan, and all of we created, and you'll see it in the feasibility study, we do narratives of all the building systems. So all the mechanical systems, electrical systems, security, technology, all those things, send it to our cost estimator. Some of it is based on just square footage numbers, but others they take and actually do some takeoffs on. So we have a full 32 division cost estimate. And there's 32 divisions. Is Construction Specification Institute has 32 sections for construction. Each thing, like doors are an easy one. They're in a division 8. But we've got a detailed breakdown of each one of those divisions. And I've gone through, and my team's gone through and evaluated where those numbers are, make sure they've got the right scope, the right pieces are included. If they miss things, we have them added. If they have too many things in there, we have them take them out. So that number has been vetted by us to make sure that it represents, to the best of our knowledge, what we have today. And that number came in at, like I said, $33,997 for that cost. Now, we know that when you move into a building, there's more than just the walls, and as you see in here, there's a lot of other things. There's furniture, there's equipment, and that sort of thing. Those types of appurtenances, I guess, they're equipment costs. So what we've also done is we've got some line item budgets in there for AV equipment. The main training room is going to have probably a 9-screen video wall that can be for training, and doubles as a nice place to watch the Super Bowl. But it's a multimedia wall for presentations. We're talking about relocating all the range equipment in the basement currently to the new station. It includes the cost. The big cost for that is the cost for the mechanical systems, the air handling and the air exchanges, and the scrubbing of the air before it gets back to the atmosphere from all of the combustion materials from the weapons. Is a little on the pricey side, but we've included those costs. Loose equipment, clocks on the walls, trash barrels, those types of things. We've got a line item for those types of things to equip a 36,000 square foot building. All the IT equipment, servers, computers, network switches, all of that stuff has been accounted for. We have some, also includes the new telephone system. I'm assuming it'll probably be, I'm not sure what you have in this town now, but if it's something that needs to be expanded on a current system, we've got kind of a ballpark number in there for what that would cost. We also have some line items for communications equipment. Not all of the radio equipment is all essentially brand new, which will be being brought over. There may be a few other little pieces, odds and ends, that might be closer to the end of their life. We've got some contingency money in for that. We're also going to need to put a new radio tower in on the site so that we can maintain communications. And then last but not least is security and access control. That'll be all of your card readers on doors, your security cameras around the perimeter and detention, all of that type of a system for the entire building. All of those, when you put those all together, again, we've made a lot of assumptions. We don't know exactly what some of those pieces and parts might be. We've got a small contingency in there for that, and that came in at about $3,884,900. And the last component is we're not a nonprofit. We need our fees as design professionals. We've got our fees. You're going to need to hire, when the project goes real, when it passes in May, you'll need to hire an owner's project manager. We account for their costs. We have things in there like independent peer reviews. They're usually $3,000 or $4,000 to review, depending on the complexity of the structure. It may be able to be waived by the building official, but we've got some money in there in case that's required. Utility companies to hook up and whatever they need to do for their infrastructure is called back charges. We carry those as a part of as a line item cost, so that we're not shocked by getting a $50,000 back charge from the utility company because they've got to go 16 poles down and then pull new wire to accommodate the power requirements for the building. We've put in an allowance for those types of costs. Advertising, moving. One of the other big things in there is the testing lab. All the materials on the site, whether it be soils or concrete or brick or reinforcing, are all required to have a independent testing and inspection lab. We carry the line item budget for those as well. And then contingency things. If there's things that come up in the middle of the project that, I hate to even say it, something in the ground that nobody's aware of that needs specialized attention, and we need to hire a separate engineering firm to do that, we've put in kind of a contingency for that. And also the ability the department needs to be relocated to another location during the course of the project. So we've carried some monies for that to cover those expenses as well. Again, there's a level of contingency in there for allowing things to move a little bit. That was about $8,340,000 for a total projected project cost of $46,222,800. Sure, somebody's going to ask the question, what's that work out to square foot? It's kind of a loaded question. When most people start to hear, what you see mostly out in the public when they talk about the cost of a project, they're talking about just the construction cost, which is the top item, the $34 million. We're working out to approximately $880, $884 a square foot for actual construction costs, which is right around what we're expecting to see. It is a little higher than what it was a couple of years ago. Because we've been seeing it kind of leveling off. We don't think that there's going to be much of a crest. We've kind of hit the crest from a cost estimating standpoint. But that's kind of where we are with what we've done to date. And I hope that that's a number that's palatable to the citizens of Burlington.
Paul, can I add something?
Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin, I know you talked about escalation, but I was getting my glasses now that I'm 50 years old and can't see anything anymore. It's important to note that that number is because we're going to be bidding it, there's escalation added because we're going to be bidding in a year and a half, and that's over $3 million. So if you didn't have that in there, and we were opening bids today, we would expect it would be more like $43 million. And to add on to that, if we had bid it 18 months ago when we were opening the building today, it would be another $3 million less. Not exactly, but that's pretty much how it works out with escalation. So important to note that there's contingencies in there, but there's also the escalation, which is a big number, and which is because we wouldn't be bidding this for another year and a half.
Thanks, Sean. Any other members have any questions for Kevin on the cost estimate, or questions, concerns, thoughts?
Does that, this is just an estimate, right? Because it went from 45 million to over 46 million. It's gone up, the estimate, right?
Well, this is
Kevin never did an estimate.
I never did an estimate.
That was John's estimate.
This is the first estimate we got, and someone,
Okay, well, does that estimate, does that also, it includes the demolition, does it also include the removal?
Yes.
Okay.
When I say demo, I mean not just take it down, but dispose of it in a legal fashion.
Okay.
So that would be all in.
Put it in that.
Yes.
you would call this full-blown estimate, includes
Yes.
all costs.
Mike?
Thanks. So to come up with these estimates, did you do, what level of detail did you do on the design of the building?
We've done schematic floor plans, which I think I've shared with the group, and we've got the imagery that we've had to date. along with the narratives of what the mechanical systems are. Like, our preferred mechanical system is called a VRF system, which is a variable refrigerant. I forget what the F stands for. But it gives you a better quality mechanical air handling, changings, and heating system for the building. We had in our narratives what the tonnage was for all of the air conditioning equipment, how many air changes, what kind of volumes we're going to be looking for air intake, fresh air, all of those types of things. We have in there for the narratives for like steel. We had my structural engineer gave the cost estimator a ballpark on X number of tons per square foot that they worked on. So we've tried to drill in as much as we can, but we still know that it's at a very early stage. There are no real line drawings for saying that this 3/4 inch sprinkler pipe is going to go from here to there, then it's going to change to 1.5 inches, and we don't have that. Those are that level of detail at the study stage. But we did go through each one of the trades with an actual description of the work as the engineers see it going forward, so that the estimator could make I don't want to call it an educated guess, but that's what estimating is. There's a little bit of science to it, but there's a lot of understanding what the market is and what people are looking to do.
So will the design then kind of continue to evolve?
Yes.
Over time? Because, so you did your best here, but it's not a completed.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. As John kind of touched on a little bit, the escalation to go out to bid in next June, or be out in 12 months or so, is that between now and then, I've got probably 6, maybe 8 drawings total. When this project gets done, there'll probably be in excess of 150 drawings and 2 volumes of specifications, about 1.5 reams each, that will get right down to exactly what each individual product's supposed to be, how it's supposed to be, and that's what you're going to be buying at that point. And then it transitions, what you get from the contractor is actually a bid for actual numbers, and everything before that is kind of what our anticipation is what the market's going to bear.
Okay, thanks.
Barbara?
I have 2 questions, and I'm not sure if this is what Mike Hardy was thinking, but as
Do
you
you
were talking.
pass the microphone down for people who are watching on?
Thank you. Yes, Kathy. Thank you. At our last meeting, Mike had mentioned, he had requested that we see a design that mimics the current building with an addition. If we were to adopt a different design, would this remain pretty much the same?
I would think so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And then
'cause
one little thing, it's little in terms of these numbers, but it's important to me, and you know what I'm going to say.
It's in there.
It's in there? It's in there. Thank you. Moving the sculptures.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you.
yes.
Because it's not a lot of money to you, but we have no money, so. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had just wondered if it already includes if you have to do remediation for water on the property to make sure that it's not going in. Is there a possibility you could run into something else that would require
Yeah, we had
extra funding?
We had notes in there from our civil engineer to the cost estimator to include some, normally what we're going to do anyhow in a project when we have, whether there's a high water table or not, when we put finished space below grade, there's always a complete water barrier, and there's also, we usually put French drains around the perimeter of the foundation, so that if we know that it's coming from a direction, set it up there with perforated pipe, bring that around to the low point, bring that into either a storm drain, or we put it into subsurface infiltration, so that it can be taken away from the building and not provide the water any chance to really get into the building.
The addition that was put on in the 90s.
Missed it.
Yes, and so I'll keep asking that question just to make sure. Thank you.
Jimmy?
Thank you, Paul. These contingencies, would that already cover, say we came across asbestos or some hazardous material? Is that built into these?
That may be one of the things that, under the contingency, the owner's cost contingencies. The additional, in there, it's called cost contingency, owner's indirect cost contingencies. That's our speak for if you need to bring in a special, if there's a reason for a hygienist or a hydrologist or something like that. But we would normally, under our normal design services, we're going to carry the geotechnical engineer. So we'll have all of the soils information taken care of, which will also give us our groundwater, and he will also give us any kind of, to your point, any kind of stormwater or groundwater mitigation recommendations. So that's all been included into the project.
So if there are any surprises, it's already covered.
We've tried to take care of as many surprises. We've tried to limit the surprises to as little as we possibly can, so that surprises truly are surprises that we're not aware of, we haven't thought of.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say too, in a total demo, there's less surprises. Our surprises are under the ground now.
Correct.
And when we take down the building, that's all, any ACMs or anything else that's going to be in there are going to be included in the demo contract anyway. So there's less chance for surprises when you're building new, rather than if we were renovating that building and we hadn't done any destructive testing. That's when you really have to worry.
Yeah. There's not going to be any surprises in the walls. If there are, we've got a bigger problem because we're not doing our job, OPM's not doing their job, that we should know essentially where everything is and where it's going in the entire project. From the time we get the existing building foundation out of the ground, now it's ours. We control what goes on from there. If we've got to go a little deeper to get below the water table to get our dewatering in so we can get the proper waterproofing for the foundation in, that's going to be part of the project that will be discovered during the geotechnical survey of the site, so that it's built in. We're not sitting here 3 years from now when the building's open and saying, how come we've got water in the basement? That's not going to happen.
Great.
Barbara?
This is more of a scheduling question. Is it possible we could go out to bid before April 2025? What is the reason for that long a delay?
I think Kevin can answer, but I think they actually have to do all the designing, the actual blueprints and
We're
whatnot.
not holding it up.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, God, no. April will be aggressive for us. That's a little bit more than 9 months. A project this size probably is more like a 10 or 11 month on our side. And what will happen in the next stage is once this passes and the project becomes real, we'll be conducting meetings with the building committee to go forward on progress on everything. Keep you updated on the progress of the project, keep you updated on the estimates as we do them, because we'll do, typically during design, we'll do 3 estimates. We'll do one at the end of schematic design, which is where we actually have real drawings for contractors and the estimators to look at. We'll do one at the end of design development, which is about 50% complete drawings. And then as a check, if we're a little concerned about the numbers, we'll do one at 75 or 90% complete documents, so that we get a real snapshot in time on what the construction industry estimators are telling us that the numbers are going to be. So if we have to make some sort of a course correction that, God knows, maybe another pandemic in the next 6 months and things go sideways again, we've got a chance to self-correct and get us back onto what this number is.
Thank you.
Bob?
First of all, I apologize for missing 2 meetings, so if this question has come up in the past again, I apologize. People have said, or others have questioned, how many years are we bidding for? How long can we expect to keep this building and this department with these numbers?
We typically typically take the approach that it's a 50-year building, realizing that not everything that's in the building is going to last 50 years. I mean, carpet lasts only so long. The paint on the exterior of the building is only going to last 20 years. I think either 20 or 25 years. So there is maintenance that's going to be needing to be done. But we typically will, all of our systems are designed to be 50-year projects.
Bob, just historically, I think what we saw with DPW, we used that building for over 80 years, I think. So we typically get a lot more use out of our buildings than, private businesses just because they're so expensive and such a project to build. So I think we can reasonably anticipate that we would probably use the building for longer than 50 years.
So all of us who are still around then will keep that.
Maybe these two guys over there. Any further questions of Kevin on the cost estimates? All right, I guess we'll open it up to members' discussion, but there was one thing I neglected to mention at the beginning. A group of us have attended 2 sessions of the planning board over the past month, and we were very fortunate to get a 5-2 vote in favor of the project. We're very grateful for that. I think it was pretty much unanimous among the members that we need a new police station, but there were a couple of members that were concerned about the loss of the open space and the historical aspects of the building, and those are concerns that we knew we were going to face with this project. So there was nothing new in terms of opposition to the project, just concerns about the open space and the historical aspects of the building that we'll be taking down. So I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on that. And with that, I guess we'll just open it up for a discussion, see if there's any questions or concerns we can talk about, and we can try to get everybody out of here. So Gary, I know you had a couple
Well, I
questions.
have some people have been asking me questions. Somebody wanted to know, who decides what contractors get the bids?
That will, according to Mass General Law, this job will be over to the $10 million threshold, so we will need to pre-qualify general contractors. So when we get close to probably 2.5 months before we're looking to go out to bid, we'll put an RFQ out for contractors, which is a request for qualifications, and it'll be a pretty good packet that they're going to have to provide for us on what their qualifications are. There'll be a pre-qual committee created by members of the building committee, myself, and your OPM that will evaluate them and determine which one of them is actually going to be eligible to bid on the project.
Are you familiar with CTA Construction?
Yes.
Who constructed Lexington's police station?
They also constructed 2 of my own ones that I've done at KBA.
Would they be people that would be asked for bids?
Well, we don't actually solicit the bids. We notify the Central Register, and it gets out for general public. So anybody that's got the qualifications from DCAM and they meet our requirements from a project criteria, would be eligible to submit their qualifications. We would then determine whether they're actually qualified to actually bid the project, and then if they're pre-qualified, then they would be able to bid the project.
And people wanted to know, why is the Burlington Police Station have to be larger than Lexington?
I don't know what Lexington's...
I know we have the Burlington Mall, and the Lexington's population is larger than Burlington, but I know we have a lot more people coming in during the day. So that's a question that somebody had asked me, that why are we spending, Lexington Station cost them, what, $35 million, and ours is larger, is recommended it's going to be like 40 plus 46 million, and people wanted to know why is Burlington's station have to be so much larger than Lexington?
Chief, are you aware, just off the top of your head, of sort of the relative sizes?
So I know we carry 68 sworn, and then with our specials and whatnot, it's about 100. I believe Lexington is in the 40s. I'm not positive about that, but I believe their staffing is about 40.
John?
I think it's important to note, too, that the square footage was based on the programming that the architects and the police department themselves did to see what spaces do we need for 21st century policing, what are we going to need in the next 50 years. So there's a program that they go over that sort of drives what the number of spaces and the size of those spaces. So I guess the answer is that the program drives the size of the...
It also depends on who your architect is and what factors of safety they build in for future expansion. Where we tend to be a little bit conservative, where we look to see where we look into the population of the town, what's the potential for it to grow in the next 50 years, what the staffing levels are now, and project that out to what it could be 50 years from now. So I think that we do a little bit more of a more comprehensive review. But it really can come down to the different companies that are doing it and what their methodology is for, they may say that the chief's office typically is 200 square feet, we've got it 250. And when you start putting those little comfortable numbers in there, it starts to, all of a sudden, you get a little bit bigger project. But
And just, obviously, the obvious, that one was bid out several years ago, so at least on the cost end of it, that was
Well,
part of it.
not-
But
a
no-
couple years ago.
That doesn't answer the size question, but it certainly answers some of the dollars question.
Well, these, I'm just relating, these are questions that people were asking me, so I'm just passing them along.
I appreciate it.
The answers.
But to Paul's point, we had done a study for a project, I forget where it was, just pre-pandemic, and then it got put on hold. It came back 3 years later, and there was almost a 30% escalation in price from the time we bid it. We estimated it pre-pandemic to 3.5 years later. We've seen, in the last 4 years, we've seen about just under a 10% escalation every year, when it was usually bumping along at about 3.5%. So we're projecting not quite that kind of escalation for the next almost year for where these numbers came up, but we're looking, again, a year from now, what we're expecting to get the prices to be.
Mary, you have any more questions on that list?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. Jim?
Thank you, Paul. Chief, do we know, does Lexington have an auxiliary building being built as well? Do we know that?
To my knowledge, they do not.
So I'm thinking, even though, because it's less of a, I don't want to say quality of a building, because it doesn't require all the mechanicals, it's great because it saves us money, but I think that might be a big add to ours cost as opposed to Lexington, because they're not going to have that building. That could be, Gary, another reason why it's a little extra, at least, not all of it, but at least.
I don't understand.
Lexington doesn't have the auxiliary building that we have. So Lexington's one building, we're building two.
Shed. Storage shed in the back.
Storage.
I see Roger Riggs has his hand up in the virtual meeting.
All right, thanks. I have a question. So the estimate mentions a temporary station. I wonder if you could elaborate a bit more on what the plan is and what the costs associated with the temporary station are.
What we did is we know that the department needs to be out of the
Because
building.
it's going to be torn down, obviously. We are looking at either creating a trailer farm, if you will. We determined that we'd probably need somewhere around a 14,000 square foot facility space, or 15,000 square feet of trailers to be able to put the department in. It's going to be kind of Spartan living for them for those 2 years. There's not going to be a fitness room. There's not going to be locker rooms. There's not going to be any detention. It's strictly going to be basically a business office for the PD for the 2 years. So we've put some square footage costs in there for trailers, some site development. We need parking for probably between 65 and 70 vehicles between the fleet and the office's personal vehicles. So we come up with, I think, a little bit more than an acre or so of land that we need if we go that route. I believe there's somebody in town was looking at potential vacant.
Yeah, we have our economic development director is putting feelers out with the landlords for empty office space, if it's suitable, or, again, a location for a trailer farm, as Kevin called it. So that's what we have going on right now on that end, Roger.
Great, thank you.
Any other members' questions? Mike?
Just kind of following up on the schematic design, has there been any progress on the design of the front of the building?
Yes, I've got that up here now. If you recall, this was the original that we presented a couple weeks ago. I believe it was probably at your request. We did a look at another massing, and we now have, I'll pull up the other, this gives it a better side-by-side comparison of what it was. We've now kind of, in the front of the building, here at the, above the front entrance, we've got, I think it was referred to as a clock tower. In reality, the actual station now doesn't really have a clock tower. It's more of it's a gable like that with a window and a clock in it. We've kind of replicated that. We've replicated kind of the front porch, front door covering, and did more of a hip roof massing on the building itself. That's what it looks like from the straight head on.
It does, yeah.
Basically from the elbow back towards the other end of the building, essentially stayed the same.
Yeah.
Personally, I think there's nothing wrong with this. I just like a little bit more character and a little more design elements to it as a designer. If we were in Sturbridge Village, this is more traditional and you don't want to deviate from that. But I think that, my personal opinion, I like the first one better. It has a little bit of the traditional elements, whereas especially along the face by Grandview, that's parallel to Grandview, basically replicating that on that, and then you turn the corner and this kind of a light, something of interest that as you turn the corner, it becomes a little something different, not what you might necessarily expect.
Yeah.
Could you,
Do
could
you have
could we
another
have?
follow-up, Mike?
I'll go after Kathy.
Well, I just have a question with this, and then, yes, back to Mike. Could we get an email of both front facades, just so that we can look at them in our spare time, and just sort of process what that would look like? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I go back to the point was to make it look like the existing building, to kind of preserve the historical look of the town common. So you could come up with a different design and say, well, this design looks more interesting or whatever, but to me, the main point was to kind of preserve more of the history of the town. We can't save the building, but we could save the likeness and just the view from the town common, kind of keeping that consistent. So that was the driving idea behind my suggestion.
Kevin, we have a lot of opportunity to mold that.
Absolutely.
Once we, pass the hurdle at town meeting, I think that this committee will have a lot of say in what the building looks like and evolve then. So I think that's important to note that, again, there's been no decisions made about what the building will look like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I got to keep advocating for it, just
No, fair enough.
historical perspective. I mean, people, in New England, we like our history. We like our historical buildings. Burlington has history too, and, it's a shame to see things go away, but if we can kind of keep part of it still around by making it look like what it was, I think that's the best thing we could do.
Yeah, like I said, I've said to the chief, this isn't, nothing in this is etched in stone. This is a kind of a first shot, first appeal, and conceptually presenting to the town, this is what our concept is. It's going to be traditional in flavor. How much we adhere to a strict historic recreation is up to this community to decide. We're going to make the building the way the town of Burlington wants it to look, not how my office wants it to look. As you can, if you look at some of our portfolio of other projects, they are really tailored to each individual community. So if this is the direction we want to go, we will go 100%, make this the best that it can possibly be. Whether this was our initial concept that we liked, preferred, it doesn't matter. This is now what you want, and that's what our goal is to achieve.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, just a quick question on the structure itself. Regardless of what the ultimate appearance is going to be, there's not going to be any sacrifice internally as far as the facility that the chief and his staff is looking for.
No.
Okay.
No, we don't let the program suffer. If this had come in at $50 million, then we could have a conversation with the chief on, let's reassess the program.
Sure.
But we're close. It seems like we're close. So we've maintained where we've gone. We feel that we're probably pretty close to where it needs to be and what is going to be.
I'm just saying that nothing should be sacrificed internally just to accommodate, an exterior feature.
Correct.
Well, Kathy, then Jim? Sorry, Jim.
All right.
I had wondered if there is a difference in upkeep based on what the facade, the outer part, basically you've got the inner part and then you can put any kind of a wraparound. Are there differences over the 50-year life of the building in the cost of upkeep of the exterior?
Like between this scheme and the original scheme, or just in general on materials?
Just in general.
The product that we're going to be putting on the exterior of this is a cementitious siding, it's called hardy siding.
Okay.
It comes pre-primed and pre-finished, so we can select any color we want. Generally comes with either a 20 or 25-year warranty on the paint against fading, staining, blah, blah, all the standard boilerplate warranties that they get. The trim would be PVC. So again, the entire exterior of the building is basically rot and rot-free. The siding doesn't rot, PVC doesn't rot.
Does the newer PVC have the problems with basically sun damage where it then just becomes brittle and disintegrates?
No, they put UV inhibitors in the mix now.
Okay.
I was just talking with, I forget what the gentleman's name is,
Joe.
about with it being PVC and white, we want it to be white so we don't have to paint it. Well,
Fantastic.
actually, the manufacturer does recommend it being painted because the raw PVC has got a static charge to it. It actually attracts dirt and dust. The building gets filthy real quick. You paint it, it neutralizes the charge, so it's a negative material, and it doesn't repel it, but it doesn't attract it, and it keeps it cleaner looking longer.
And the paint doesn't peel off?
No.
Okay, great.
We require that the paint be specific for PVC, because PVC does expand and contract quite a bit
Yes.
with heat, so we make sure that the paint that we specify that goes on the PVC is designed to take that movement into account.
Great, thank you.
Jim, and then we got Mike Espejo online.
Thank
So,
you,
Jim?
Paul. Following up on what Roger Riggs asked about, I don't know what the status of Vinebrook will be when this starts, but I'm thinking to save money, maybe a combination of Vinebrook and trailers down there. We already own it, so we don't.
It's certainly worth consideration, Jim, so we'll put it at the top of the list when we start looking around,
Okay.
for sure. Mike?
All right, see you next time. Good seeing you.
Need to be unmuted?
I didn't.
Try again, Mike.
Is this microphone on?
I don't think you get the mute button if it's not.
All right, while Mike's figuring it out, does anyone want to, Bob?
As this process moves along and we get into putting this building up, are there discussions ongoing with the members of the department about what they need, and is this the right thing? The reason I ask that is I go back to the fire station. No one thought that we'd have to have a larger fire engine that couldn't back into the station because the door wasn't wide enough. Is there that kind of checks and balances, or,
Yeah.
do you take responsibility for not thinking about that?
Ultimately, we're design professionals. We ask all the pertinent questions, because I focus myself personally. I've done police and fire stations exclusively for the last 25 years. Things like the size of an ambulance. Like, I don't even have to ask the chief that, do you want to be able to get an ambulance? I'm building the Sally Port big enough to get an ambulance in with a gurney, so that when a detainee decides, okay, it's on a Friday night, I'm not feeling that great, I don't want to sit here in the cell all day long, I'm going to say I've got a heart problem, you got to take me to the hospital. Well, we need to transport them in a safe manner. They'll be handcuffed to the gurney gets it out into the Sally Port, and it's still in an enclosed, secure environment, and then they go off. So we're thinking of kind of those types of things. We've even adjusted our size of our doors to the Sally Port a little bit higher, because some of the ambulances are getting a little bit bigger chassis, bigger air conditioning units on the roof. Those are the types of things that we see. And as we get moving through the project over the next year, the way we do our projects, we build the project three-dimensionally in the computer. that as we get to certain stages, we'll invite the chief down to our office, or I'm not sure if we got an ability to go mobile with it, but bring him in, walk him through his building, so he can take some of his officers, take them through the booking process, and see how things are laid out, exactly where they are, as opposed to just trying to think about it on what it looks like in two-dimension. We try and have vision to, we're 50 years out in what might be coming.
Good, that's it, thank you.
Mike, did you have a question you want to put in the chat, or?
You did, Paul. It says he wanted to know if the 46.2 estimate was firm, or couldn't it be lower when the bids came back? So,
Obviously, if the bids come back, the number, the 33,997, that's it, kind of at the whim of the market. If it comes in at $32 million, then absolutely the bottom line comes down. There's nothing that says that you, I should say, depending on how you've written your article and how it's voted on, this is a maximum amount. If you don't end up needing to borrow that much, you just don't borrow that much. So at the end of the day, if we come up with we typically recommend a contingency of about 5 or 7% of the overall project. If we've got 5% of the contingency still left, you just don't bond that amount, or you just don't borrow that amount, and the cost of the project is affected that way.
That's correct. This is a not-to-exceed amount, and we hope to do...
Not to exceed.
We hope to do better than this, and again, this committee will be involved in all those decisions as we build the building in terms of change orders and decisions along the way. So Barbara, I know you had a question next.
Yes, and I'm not sure if we need to do that in this meeting, but I think we need to have a discussion about how this will be presented to town meeting. There's going to be at least 2 articles, correct? And I would imagine the zoning change would go after the original article, because we wouldn't do the
Yes,
zoning change.
we don't need to do the zoning change
Right.
if the
Yes.
funding doesn't pass, correct?
Have you thought about whether or not you want to present renderings at town meeting, or if you're going to avoid that? Again, I'm not looking for an answer today. I just think it's important that we think all of that through, because it's going to matter.
Absolutely. I think we got a busy April ahead of us in preparation for town meeting to talk about, typically on a project, we have a setup outside of town meeting, and typically there's a couple of boards with, again, it's a very good question, Barbara. We'll have to decide what to present, given the fact that we haven't made any decisions about what the building's going to look like. But I do think some type of visual representation would be good.
Excuse me, Paul. Sorry. Good, Barbara.
I just wanted to quickly say, I agree with Mike, what Mike was saying. I think there's a level of comfort that the community has with the look of the building now, and the rendering that you provided may not be the most creative or modern look, but I think it might be more palatable to the larger community.
Thank you. Jim?
Amy typically has an open house for town meeting members before the May meeting. If she's going to do that again, maybe this is a good place to have that info spread out. If not, maybe we could do our own, is it an open house, is what she calls it, or what does she call it?
You can do your own information session.
Information session
Yeah.
prior to town meeting.
Yeah, we brought that up. We hope to do at least 2 of them, and I think we should take every opportunity we can to present it to the town or to a committee. Again, we'll try to get on every committee's agenda during the month, and like I say, it's going to be a busy month of April leading up to May. Well, hopefully, like I say, by May 1st, we've touched all the bases, and we've brought it to as many of the community members as possible so that, we can get a positive outcome. So we got about 10 minutes left, and I know, Chief, did you want to update about the website?
So what may be helpful for people, too, as we roll this out, Kevin has, he can share it. We're in the process of building out the website, which is going to have everything from the finalized feasibility study, the existing conditions report, the renderings, pictures of the existing building with descriptions of the systems and what's going on and, what's wrong with them. So people are going to have a behind-the-scenes view through this website to basically be able to follow the project and see, where we came from and where we're going. So it's actually very, very good website. We've got to fix a couple of things and put some more things on there before we open it up. We're hoping to do that by maybe next Tuesday. But just to give you an advanced look, this is what it's going to look like. And we'll share this link as soon as it's live so that everybody can come in here and take their time and digest what they need to digest.
That's nice design for the website.
Thank you. So
Thank you, Chief. Go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say, what we've got in the beginning, you can see this is the about, which is largely what was, I guess, presented at the January special town meeting, about the history of the project, the history of how it's going forward. Then we move into existing conditions where people can come in and see, okay, what's wrong with this picture? There's a little glitch on this one, but we're fixing this glitch now. You click on the picture, and it tells you what the problem is with the facility. So you can basically give people a virtual walkthrough on what the existing conditions are. To go with that, we'll have, like the chief said, we'll have all the floor plans there. We'll have frequently asked questions. We'll have, as part of the resources tab, we've got a link to the YouTube video that the chief did, a tour of the building, so that anybody that comes in to the website, click on it, and it starts to give the tour the chief gave, I guess, the local Access TV cable company.
With BCAT back in 2021.
So it's a recorded tour of the building. As the chief said, we'll have the full feasibility study with the costs and all the options and all the narratives and code issues and everything that we've done as part of the feasibility study will be on the feasibility tab. So I'm in the process of reformatting it now. It should be, my marketing folks said that they would have it probably by the end of the day on Monday, but more than likely Tuesday it'd be ready to go and live.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Spail. Mike? John, you had a comment?
Will we be exposing any security issues by providing all of this info on the website?
You guys hear that question?
Yeah. It's not the first.
Be careful not.
By this being a public building, it's, in the public world, it's full disclosure. I mean, the layout, I don't necessarily think gives any real security risks because the access control that will be in the building to allow only access to certain individuals, and we have a audit trail of who's gone where and how. Something that I'm hearing more and more questions from the public is this really, should we be putting some of this stuff, you really can't not. I've never seen a project in 24 years that it hasn't put the floor plans out, because I don't think the floor plans alone are enough to be a security risk. But it does, in this day and age, they're not the most popular guys in the world, or guys and ladies. But we build in things that aren't real obvious, so that the building is secure. If you're a contractor, you're going to get the drawings anyhow, and if you're a pre-qualified contractor, you get a free set of them. So you're going to know soup to nuts what's in the building. There's no way really around that.
So Kevin, if I may, I think also to the heart of Mike's question is if we're putting out the pictures of the existing conditions of the building right now, does that expose us? And the answer is no. We've been careful what we've put out. There are certainly things that I've pointed out in the tour and you're going to be able to see in the pictures, but basically through this process, we've let the staff know they've got to be vigilant and pay attention what's going on. But I'm really not worried about it. I think on balance, it's more important to let the community know exactly what we're dealing with to understand why we're here. So I'm willing to take a little bit of that risk.
Thank you, Chief. Mike, is that good? Thumbs up, something? All right, we got about 5 more minutes. I don't know if anybody has any more questions or comments. If anybody has a topic that they'd like to discuss, please submit it through Kate to the chief. And
Somebody up in the audience.
Mr. McNiff, you have a question?
Oh, sure. Can you speak now?
Well, we got
I know
5.
last time you corrected me.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes, so.
Oh, I know, that's what you gave me last time. All right. Thank you.
No, I didn't mean you're going to use it all.
Glad it wasn't overlooked.
Okay, thank you. I guess to say who I am. Can I take this? Yeah. Yeah, my name is James McNiff. I live at 59 Villagewood Drive. I've been tracking the project. A lot of the questions you've asked, I have some answers as regard to square feet, what 6 other towns have done. The first thing I'm going to say is that the number surprises me on a gross level, not from detail, because I didn't ask questions yet. But if I were to take the benchmark of $1,269 square foot, that's the highest number I've seen in any, and I've reviewed maybe 20 police stations, 10 of them are current, including KBA, and I find that to be high, but I don't know what is in the package to say why it's higher maybe than others, so I can't really comment, but it is high as a benchmark compared to others. This may be just an observation. You had said, Kevin, that the price was $844 a square foot for construction.
About 880.
Yeah, when I multiply times it, I come out to 933. I come, with the numbers you currently have right now, it doesn't come out to 844. It comes out to $933 a square foot. I was doing that quickly while I was over there. No, even if you took the other building, yeah, it would be 883, not 933. It's off about $50 to $100 if I've done it right. Just a check. That's not the major discussion.
Continue.
Okay, I'll continue. Okay.
Actually, if you were only taking the 36,400 square feet and dividing it, it's really 38,500 square feet.
I did. I
And that comes out
then
to-
did the 38,500, and I came up with $883 per square foot, not 933. It is, if you divide it out, it's all 933, right?
When I divided it out, I got $894 a square foot.
Okay, so we're off about $40. I guess that is one of my points. When you get into the detail, square feet is just as important as a total cost, because that really drives a lot of the cost. And that's what, when I match it up to other sites that you've done, I have questions, Beverly and a few others. But one of the questions I have from the last meeting, I guess, which is still open, Leo Minster, did you visit it?
Yes.
And what was the outcome? Because that's 30,000 square feet, and it seems to be about the same size. Was there add-ons, things that they didn't do that you've decided to do?
From a cost standpoint, or just the size?
From because it was 30,000 square feet, and the cost is 30,000, was 30 million, close to it about.
Yeah, that was bid in 2021, so that was bid 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We've experienced, since the beginning of COVID, almost a 30% increase in escalation. So if you take the 33 million, the 30-something million, and you add it to it, we're also a bigger square footage than what Leominster is.
Well, yeah, that is a separate question I have as to the square feet, because again, he said it drives it, so I don't know why there's the difference. But that's one of the questions I have. And it goes back to questions, if somebody were to compare and pull it together, they're going to have these questions about why is this so high. And to give you an example, it was just in the newspaper, was one town in, I think it's New Hampshire, Portsmouth, it's in New Hampshire?
Yes.
Yes, they're going through a new police station, and it's not one of your projects.
Correct.
KBA. But on January 22nd this year, they the chief police, who's Mark Newport, I don't know if you know of him, he said the largest square footage, and this is his statement, he said well, I should back off a bit. Initially, the police department was going to be 70,000 square feet at a cost of $1,233. That was the initial estimate that they started with. And then they finished, after doing that, after going through the analysis, they landed up with a revised square foot of $853. And what the police chief said when he was asked the question, why did it change so radically? And he said, the largest square footage represented where our wants were, meaning, which I think I mentioned last time, I understand that. If I were starting this project and you were coming to me without a budget and said, or even I've said to my teenage son, you don't have a budget, what kind of car you want? You know, I didn't give him any boundaries as to what he would do. And if I were the client, I would definitely go through, this is what I want, this is what I think versus what I need. And that was part of the discussion I had last time. Now, he actually says, these were our wants, while the new projection is where the necessities and needs are. So this particular project had to go through a whole process of going down and looking at do we need that? Do we need this? Is it wanted or is it needed? And I think that's part of the discussion. And right now, I don't have any detail. But using the example of Lexington. Lexington, which I find a little amazing, not many of them put them in there, but they got a fitness center out of there. Now, I don't know if on the list of ours we've put a fitness center, if we've put a shooting range. I mean, I have a list of things. And any one of these could like bounce you up and down across. So I think it really, to get into the numbers, I would need to see what were the functions that were you're either accepting or not dealing with. But I know from your prior discussion, Kevin, you made the statement that when you took the bids during a period of time, COVID, and you opened them, you were surprised, pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
Because the bids were lower than you expected.
Yep.
So I took that into account as I was doing this, saying, okay, I can understand. I actually took numbers and started projecting it based on what you say is COVID. But COVID is, you look at the numbers now for the last 2 years, it's going down to rate 3%, 4%, inflation and the prices and supply. Not saying that the contractors won't try to get the highest price they can, because there relatively is only two contractors I could see in all the. There was one that you've named, and another one called GNC seem to be the two main ones that are on the projects I've looked at.
Mr. McNick, can I just ask you for about 2 more minutes and then wrap it up? All good questions. Feel free to.
No, I'm just trying to get. I'm representing a resident. You wanted to hear from a resident. I'll give you just an example. I think there was a question raised about Lexington. I think, Jim, you had raised that question about, you asked a question about Lexington.
Why is it?
Yeah, well, I analyzed Lexington.
Lexington is
They had.
Smaller station.
Yeah, they
larger.
Yeah, they put solar power on their garage, which costs another $3 million. I don't know is that in?
No.
No, okay, good.
That would be a separate initiative if the town wants to go there.
Yeah, that was.
The building will be designed to accommodate the PVs on the roof. That's required by code, so that's built in. The infrastructure is there to put it on the roof.
And their price per square foot in Lexington is $1,083, and you're at 12-something right now. And I think they were done during COVID, actually. Their prices will probably be the highest, one of the highest. And they also had built in the fitness room, which I found kind of strange. But they are slightly lower in square foot. And I think even for me to evaluate, to go further and start the question, I would need to know all the amenities or functions that are being looked at as needed in the police station and say, okay, do you really need this or don't you need, or is this what's causing this to go up? Because one of the reasons I was slightly disappointed is that KBA, from your perspective, from last time I was here, your jobs that you've done have been in the newspaper. And every one that you did, even with this one, when you started, you said, they're telling me 35,000 square feet, but I think maybe we can get to 31. And you actually said that, and that was your trail. That's the way your jobs have moved. This seems to be the one job initially that's starting off. It seems to be going in a different direction.
Well, in reality, when we did
Yeah.
when the space needs program that we did for the department, our size of the building was actually 37.5. So with being as efficient as we could with the layouts, without compromising the sizes of rooms, but just making sure the adjacencies were right and the circulation was kept to a minimum, we're actually about 1,000 square feet less than what the program indicated that we should be at.
Okay. And
it will probably change.
This would be my last point as a resident, again. And this is from the looks of the place, the way it's being designed. If you took all the municipal buildings working their way up to the police department right now, and then you took Grandview on the other side, we're making it look more like the farm than we are making it look like the municipal buildings, which is colonial. White columns, white frames. I would see that building be more of the brick, almost a continuation of that whole style going down. And we're not back in the farm days. Yeah, I agree. That should be in Cape Cod somewhere. I think I want to look like an official police building. And if you took your designs that KBA has done, and I have all the pictures of most of your designs, they're all contemporary. Very few, not few, but the main ones that are going up now have making the best use of space, and they do look like they could be in the futuristic police departments, the designs. And I'm saying that's what Burlington would like to do, but I'm done.
I just wanted to, I checked with Lexington, and CTA Construction started their construction May 3rd of 2023.
Right.
But the project was completed June of 2024, state-of-the-art facility.
Right.
Just for your information.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thanks, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
So I showed this to you before?